Leta. How are you?
Hello, Terry. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. I'm so thrilled to do this interview with you. You know that we've just become friends recently, and I've watched you with your TED Talks and being a member of the National Speakers Association. I love your story, and you're just one of these people that should be part of this group that I've started. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself first.
Well, I'm a mom of 3 kids, and I joke right now because I have 3 TEDx talks. I'm working on my 3rd book, that my favorite number is 3. I just feel like that's kind of catchy.
That's great.
But
Yes,
I'm a
authored.
speaker and an author, and just living the life, helping connect people with what makes them amazing and confident. And I call it the hotness factor.
Love that. Well, you're pretty hot yourself, you know.
Well, what can you do?
Especially with the sparkle in the background. I'm loving that very much.
I know, right? I
Yes,
love that.
it's
Yeah.
very, very nice. And you're also, don't you do like an stylist type
Yeah, I
makeup?
am trained as an image consultant, and I teach workshops on how to present yourself and your image with the psychological of the confidence. And I'm also been a makeup artist for 30 years.
That's fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
we could use you as well. So I'm sure there'd be people reaching out to you on that end as well. So the first question is, do you see yourself as courageous?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
do. Great. Wonderful. You didn't hesitate. So tell
Yeah,
us
no.
why, and tell us some examples of how you've been courageous.
Well, when I was young, I think the greatest accomplishment I had was that I survived. And so, anything I've been able to do past that, once you realize that you are capable and that life is possible for you and you've been through hell, really, really, what does day-to-day life put in the way of you? Right?
Yes, what a message. That is the message.
Yeah.
Yet there's so many people that look at these difficult times they've had to survive through, and they're stuck there. How did you get to the other side of seeing yourself as courageous and strong instead
Well,
of being,
sorry, I got all excited.
I know.
Well, it goes back to your non-negotiables. I think we wake up every morning and we're like, am I awesome? Am I courageous, or whatever it is you're trying to work on? And putting an affirmation as a question is not an empowering statement.
Yes.
So
Interesting.
you have your non-negotiables, and once you have those, what you are, your value, right? Like, I know that I am a daughter of God and that God loves me. And so I go from there. And then, my marriage, my value as a mother, win or lose in my business, it's okay. That's just part of life, has failure. And we get these expectations around everything should be perfect, and everything's perfect, then we're on purpose. And that is not true.
No.
Life is meant to have difficulty and opposition, and that's okay.
Yes. What a great attitude. And I think that does make the difference, understanding your non-negotiables. And I did see a TED Talk on resilience. And one of the qualities in a person that's resilient is that they know that life is going to throw obstacles at them, that it's going to be difficult. This is just planet Earth. This is where we're at. This is how we grow and learn.
Totally okay. It doesn't undermine our value.
Yes. But there's a lot of people that aren't prepared, and they don't know how to handle it. And so I think that is a key, thing that you just said. Non-negotiables, and know that life is going to do that to you. And how do you prepare for that? How do you, and how has it changed you?
It's like if anyone's had a baby, right?
Yes.
You think you're prepared for the baby. Like,
Yeah, this is good.
you
Yeah.
just made a baby, or even a harder process, going through adopting a child, right? It's like you've gone to all this work to arrive at this point, and now you're like, what? The life is like that. We never have it all put together. Right? And it goes back to those expectations that we create. And one of the ways this got really clear for me was in the death of a child. And I love my kids. Like, I am over the top about my kids. Like, people shame me how much I like my kids. Okay.
They never should do that. Yeah.
And I went through a lot to get my kids. And this principle, I hope that what I do, that I'm helping to drive this principle home without people having to learn it the way I did. Just take my word for it. You don't want to learn it the way I did.
Yes.
And it was this realization that if then moment when everything theoretically is perfect, that I realized now that I've lost my child, there would never be a perfect moment. There would never be this perfect time in my life that I have arrived. And so what I do is I create happiness and meaning in the moments of my life.
Wow,
So
that gave me
you,
chills. That just gave me chills.
yeah, I mean,
How
it's like I
profound is
said,
that?
that drove that principle home for me to understand that I was never going to get it all,
Yes, yes.
but I could give all. I
Wow.
could be all to, to the purpose and meaning of my life, right? And
Yes.
our purpose and meaning is not what we do for money. That may play into it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's becoming a person of character and a person of worth.
Yes, I completely agree with you. But that was so perfectly described in a way that I've never heard it before. And from your
Sorry, I
own
just kind of dropped that
experience,
bomb on you. You're like, whoa.
it kind of took me back. I mean, it was so moving. And I think you said something so important for us is that we think that we have to be perfect. We think life needs to be perfect. But what is that? Is that maybe just
Perfection
showing
is a
up?
lie.
Yeah, showing up in the moment every day and trying to live fully every day in that moment, whatever's in front of you, whatever you're dealing with, is that perfection for ourselves? But it's not what we think it should be. And we're always going to be disappointed or feeling like we've not measured up.
Yeah.
And we need to stop that.
We do, because human beings, depending on your religious belief, there's very few people who've ever attained perfection.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm Christian, so I believe that was Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And there's been some really awesome people, but none of them have, gotten to the level of perfect, right?
Right. Right.
So if I just kind of let that pressure off of me of realizing that imperfection, I mean, really what inspires people more, if I got on here and I was like, Terry, everything in my life has been perfect. And I mean, look how gorgeous I am. Of course, you love me. You'd be like, okay, where's the lesson?
Yes.
How do I apply that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Why we respect other people and why I'm sure you're doing this kind of thing is because of, the mess and the message and the overcoming and the
Yes.
trials that we go through and how, courage in perfection wouldn't be needed.
I agree. And it's
Right?
being vulnerable enough to be messy and show that life is messy and that's okay. It's how we respond to it. And
I was reading an article not too long ago that because of the pandemic, that people were pushing back against, these perfect role models, that their lives were perfect.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Because they're like, my life is messy.
Yeah.
And I was like, perfect. I'm perfectly positioned for this time because I've never tried to put on this. Here's the perfect picture of me. And here's the, my house is always, right?
Yes.
I'll post pictures of me without makeup on. And people are like, how can you do that? And I'm like, because I'm human.
Yes. And we're all relating to that. And that's what people want to relate to. It's being perfect to be imperfect. And that's how we should help rise and help each other to, become better people, is to know that we're all in this together. Okay, so I know we don't have as much time, but I could talk to you for like hours about
I'm
this.
I'm sure.
Because
we're fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to have you back. We're going to continue this conversation.
Okay, I love it.
Okay, but one last question is, if you chose courage over fear or doubt, is there anything that's left on the table that you would do?
If I chose
Courage over
fear or doubt.
Is there anything?
Well, the absence of fear is probably a psychological problem, right? I mean, you can't be completely fearless.
No,
right?
It's facing it.
Right.
Having the courage to face it and keep moving.
Yeah, to face that. I think a lot of times in life that, again, we don't live in absolutes, right? But what comes to my mind is always the answer is love. If I love myself enough, if I love others enough, that my doubts, my fears, that is going to feed into being more courageous, right?
Yes, you just melted me again. I just kind of let down and go, yes.
Well,
yes.
I am called Hotness.
You
and
are.
I melted you.
You did.
Yeah.
I don't want to make light of what you just said because it's so important. Really, it is. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because I agree with you that love really is the universal solvent to so many things, and we forget about it.
It starts with ourselves. We are individually worth the work on us.
Yes.
To look in the mirror and like us. That is worth whatever you have to go through, whatever trials. And I always say that I'm not thankful my daughter died, because I definitely would prefer a different outcome.
Yes.
But I am thankful for the things that I've learned from it. Yeah. I can see that there's so much good in my personal life I mean, let alone the professional stuff, but in my personal life and who we are. And that's the price I've had to pay to love myself and to have the peace and joy that is in my home. Then at some point I might even be willing to have accepted that. I think that's probably heaven, but you know, I have gained so much good, and that's how I've learned about the grace of God in my life. And how can I regret that?
How can you? What a beautiful thing to say. You bring me to tears. It's so beautiful. I mean, really.
I should have warned you. You're like, if you're going to ask me about that.
I've been speechless about 3 times already. Like, I don't know what to say. That's not me. But that means you touched my heart, and thank you for that. There's so much that we can take away, but one most important thing, love yourself first. It starts there, and that will help
Absolutely.
you be.
That is not vanity or selfishness.
Yes.
That is how we access our gifts.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time and all your wisdom and sharing, being vulnerable enough to share your stories. And I can't wait to read your next book. And I want to share so people can get a hold of you, of your books and your TED Talks and all of that. We will share that with our group. Thank you so much. You are a joy. You are an amazing person. And thanks for sharing your gifts.
Thank you for having me on, Terry.
You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.